First, combined. Sorry. That's the outside of our current MRF where recyclables are dumped.
If you use the one to the side or that.
So we'll say real quick, what is all-in-one recycling? All-in-one recycling is basically what people call single stream. It's everything coming in one product and coming to our plant. Things like paper, aluminum, steel cans, plastic food and beverage containers, water bottles, cardboard, variety of items that every household and businesses use that we want every day. Things that hurt us, things we do not ask for. Obviously, food waste and trash, styrene foam, it's very hard to recover. Anything small like plastic utensils will fall through our sorting system. Any multi-layer or non-paper like Tyvek envelopes are also items that we cannot handle. If you basically stick with the previous list, you'll recycle very successfully. Our processing center is massive, over 80 conveyors, screens, magnets, you name it, that brings the material in as one big ugly pile and then source it into commodities that then we take and market to a variety of places. And that's what I've been asked to touch on today is, okay, I put it in the bin, it went in the truck, it went to this place. What happens with our product after? And that's what we're going to talk about now. So what happens? I'm basically going to take us through how we recover it in the plant. So what we recover first to last. So it's kind of a walk through the plant also. It's quite a chart of what we do, right? We have contamination that comes in that we have to recover. And then we go into our many commodities that we recover. We'll go through each one of these pretty quickly and kind of tell you where they go, because this is a very busy chart and hard to read. But the first recoverable product we have, first thing that we take out is we send the material through a glass crusher and we break the glass and recover glass. We use a lot of this as aggregate at our local landfill. Instead of mining gravel, rock, and minus that we need, we use a lot of this material to build roads. You're constantly building roads within a landfill. Every day we have to build something called a clean out area where the trucks can clean out after they've dumped their loads. And instead of using rock and gravel, we use a lot of this as aggregate, scoop it up and use it again the next day. And then a lot of it is sent to a company called ITR down in Texas, where they grind it and clean it and send it back to Peevely, Missouri to be made into glass bottles for a very large manufacturer downtown that needs glass bottles. Cardboard is the next thing we recover. We mainly sell our cardboard to International Paper, a name you may recognize. They have several mills around the Midwest and Southeast that we sell cardboard to, where they'll pulp it, sheet it, and then send it back to a variety of their box plants around the country to be folded back into a folding carton or a cardboard box. Very circular recycling with cardboard. Very easy to do, very successful. The next thing we recover across all of our plant is paper. We recover a couple different grades of paper. We recover higher end grades of paper, more like office paper. That we sell to names you may recognize again, Kimberly-Clark, Georgia Pacific. You got a question?
You talked about cardboard being circular. Is that like forever, or is that the fibers?
They say that about every 7 or 8 times the fiber gets recycled, it gets too short. So the average is about 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
Good question. Pretty much all paper products are that way. Most of the products that we sell to Kimberly-Clark, I always say if you recycle it, you may be wiping with it again in about 2 months, either as a paper towel or some other type of tissue product. We also sell our lower end paper, mixed paper and newspaper, to mills here in the country called Pratt Industries and one called Paperworks in Wabash, Indiana. Their main product they make is box board that goes back into food grade type boxes like macaroni and cheese boxes and so on. As you can tell through the pandemic, they were very busy and very hungry for our fiber as they couldn't keep up with the production of those boxes. So we've removed the glass. We've sorted out 3 different grades of paper: cardboard, newspaper, mixed paper, and high-end paper. What's left now is what we call our container line. And this material goes to a container line. The first thing we do is we hit a magnet that removes all the metal containers. That's pretty much sold locally here to smelters in town that will smelt it, make it into an ingot that's going to make it into all kinds of steel products. We're probably sitting on them and using them every day. Aluminum cans are recovered with something called an eddy current, pretty cool piece of machinery that actually repels aluminum. We bale those cans, we send them to smelters in Kentucky. They melt it into aluminum ingots. They send it back here to Arnold, Missouri, to a plant in Arnold that stamps them back into cans and sends them back downtown to that one manufacturer that fills them with fine products. So that's very circular, and aluminum is said to just be continuously recyclable, that there really is no shelf life on the amount of times you can do that. Once the food and beverage cans are removed, we then use a set of optical sorters that our screen died. There we go. The optical sorters remove, identify the grade of plastic and literally hit it with an air jet and separate it from everything else. The first bottle thing we remove is #1 PET bottles, your soda bottles, your water bottles. The majority of what we recover is sold to Mohawk Carpet in Georgia. They shred it, grind it, melt it. What's great about PET is in molten form, it's very stainable, meaning you can make it about any color you want. But once it hardens into a thread, it's very stain resistant and very durable. So PET is an excellent product to be made into carpet. The majority of your carpet you guys walk on every day is more than likely contains a very large percentage of recycled PET. We also sell it to a few companies that make it into packaging materials like plastic banding that would go around those lovely skids of cans that are going back to that place downtown. All right, the next thing, #2 bottles. HDPE, your milk jugs, your detergent bottles. Company down in Troy, Alabama called KW Plastics. They grind it, they clean it, and sell it to manufacturers that make things like paint buckets. Very popular thing right now is the screw and pour plastic paint, 1-gallon paint jug, becoming very popular and kind of putting a demand on this product. It's a little bit better than the old pry open paint can. We also sell to a company that makes it into black drain pipe that you'd use in your backyard and in your gutters.
Do you want that paint can back in your Murph?
If it's clean, empty, and dry, yes, we do. What we are left with at that point is 3, 4, 5, and 7 plastics. Earlier, we said we do not take styrene foam products. That's #6. But we do take 3, 4, 5, and 7. We bale that as one product. We sell it to compounders that will then sort it to the nth degree and grind it to sell back to people that need a specific plastic for a specific product. Polypropylene #5 is the most prevalent recyclable grade in that mix, and then very recyclable and gets made into a variety of products from the auto industry to not quite the grade of lumber that Trex sells, but lower grade of lumber and other things. So, this is nothing new. I'm the 4th generation of my family that's been doing this. My great-great-grandfather collected rags, metal's been recycled forever, paper. I'm selling to some paper mills that are over 80 years old that are still pulping paper. I've sold to Mohawk Carpet my entire career, and that's pretty long. So, we provide an affordable raw material to industry to make back into products. And if we weren't competitive and couldn't do it economically, it wouldn't exist. So what we sort, what we recover is being sold as a product. It is needed. It is a commodity. So there are times where it's worth more money than others, but it still moves and it's still made into a product. So my next slide says questions, but I think we're going to wait till the end. And
we did have one question come
Sure.
up online. Rick online asked who are the local smelters. I think that was back to the metals.
US Steel, we sell to, oh gosh, what's their name over there? I'm drawing a blank, but it goes into US Steel where they melts it over on the other side of the river.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And into Indiana, they've got 2 smelters that we sell to.
Okay. Awesome. And I think if it's okay with you, Aaron, we'll go to Emily online and then take questions all at the end. Okay. So if you could just
Stop
stop
sharing. You got it. Yeah.
Okay, and then Emily, if you could go ahead and start sharing your presentation.
Yeah. And you'll have to forgive me. I was the backup plan on presenting to you, so I'm not sure that all of my presentation is going to be what you're looking for. I thought you wanted more information on our recycling programs that we offer for the communities and the schools, but I can definitely touch on both.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, no problem. So just some pictures here of some examples of what the plastic that we're collecting is designed into, and looking at the deck boards and the railing here. These are the commodity that we're making. Trex Company is the world's largest manufacturer of high performance wood alternative decking and railing with nearly 30 years experience. We have 2 manufacturing facilities. I'm in Virginia, so we have one right in Winchester, Virginia, a second that services the West Coast in Fernley, Nevada. And then we've recently announced that we're building a 3rd site in Little Rock, Arkansas that will service the Midwest. We are sold in the US and internationally in 43 countries, founded in 1996, and we are the largest domestic recycler of polyethylene film and packaging. Our ingredients consist of recycled polyethylene bags, wraps, films, packaging, and wood waste, and then byproducts of wood. So cabinet manufacturers, flooring manufacturers, we get their sawdust. Polyethylene film comes in various commercial and community resources. And in 2021, our ESG report shows that we upcycled more than 1 billion pounds of plastic PE film and reclaimed wood. And when I typed that, I had to do spell check because I don't think I'd even ever written out a billion. So of that, 431 million pounds of plastic film in 2021. We're getting that through a lot of commercial warehouses, a lot of distribution centers. We do coordinate at any given time about 2,500 school and community recycling programs, which is what I was going to talk to you about. And of that 431 million pounds, we estimate that over 1 million pounds have come through those programs in 2021. We network with approximately 32,000 retail collection points in the US, a lot of grocery stores, retailers like Kohl's and Home Depot. And then just for perspective, the annual pounds of single-use plastic in the US is estimated at 32 billion pounds, and approximately 12% of that we show is recycled. A lot of plastic out there. The community challenge that we offer is for places like churches and a lot of Lions clubs, Rotary clubs, Scouts, libraries, people in the community that can participate. You pick a 6-month period basically, and in that 6 months, if you're able to collect 500 pounds of plastic, Trex awards you with furniture. It's a polywood bench. Polywood is manufacturer of composite furniture. They don't use the same material that we're using. They're using the rigid plastics, but it's beautiful furniture, and it's a nice reward for your efforts in recycling that plastic through your grocery stores. When you sign up for a challenge, Trex will provide you with recycling bins and posters, which you can see in this picture here. And then it's basically all housed online. It's a pretty simple process. The flow of plastic film from the recycling bin to Trex. Recycling bins that are placed at schools and throughout the community collect the plastic. They drop it off to grocery stores. The grocery store sends all of their plastic back to their distribution center. The distribution center then bales the plastic. All the plastic that comes to Winchester and to Fernley has to be in baled form. And then once they have a full truckload of about 40 bales, at about 40,000 pounds, Trex will send a truck in to pick it up and bring it directly to our manufacturing facilities. Believe you all are in Missouri, so I have listed out all the stores that we're working with in your state. These are stores that may or may not know about Trex, but they should know that their plastic does go to their distribution center to be recycled. So these are the locations in your state that you can drop plastic off to, and rest assured that it makes its way back to Trex. Acceptable PE packaging is going to be stretch film. It's going to be your plastic bags, your grocery bags, bread bags, case over wrap, product wrap, retail bags, air pillows, bubble wrap with the air removed, preferably, dry cleaning bags, newspaper sleeves, Ziploc bags. Some of the other items that are listed that you might not think of: ice bags, wood pellet bags, salt bags, and cereal box liners. Even though cereal box liners don't fit the mold of being the stretchable plastic, we've tested them 100 ways and they pass every time. Also, on our website, you can find all of these lists, but these are items that we get a lot of questions about whether or not they can be included. This is the do not include these items group, but that's gonna be your frozen food bags, candy bar wrappers, chip bags. If it's making a crinkly noise, if it tears, these are items that don't work well in our process. We get a lot of questions about pet food bags, and unfortunately, it's just not something that we can do. Anything obviously degradable or compostable we can't use in our decking products. Pre-washed salad bag mix, any kind of meat packaging, the 6-pack rings, any PPE. We've got to keep our people safe here in our factories. Pool covers. We have a lot of trouble with environmental contamination. We don't have wash lines. The plastic that's coming needs to be really clean and dry. Lamination film is no good for us. We get a lot of calls about silage bags and hay bags, but again, that environmental contamination is a big problem for us. Anything with the vinyl mix, the shower curtains and tablecloths, they can't be used. Bedding or linen packaging, we're looking for the number 2 and the number 4 symbols on the packaging, and sometimes that will be there, but we have to be really careful about the mixed plastics and the metal zippers, that kind of thing. And then we get a lot of calls about backyard ice rinks. That material that's used underneath. A lot of places in the Northeast will call in the spring and say, what can I do with it? But unfortunately, because of that environmental contamination, we can't use it. I feel like I ran through this very fast, but I was told 5 minutes.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. And we did have a question. I think this came up for Brent's presentation just before you started. But they asked, do you compost paper that has gotten to the end of its recyclable life? And I also had a question along those same lines when you mentioned that paper fibers can be used 7 or 8 times. How does that separation process work that it's at the end of its life?
Well, I mean, they pulp it, right? So they put it in a big blender and they blend it up and make it into pulp and they spread it back on the sheet. But from a virgin piece of wood pulp, every time they pulp it, it loses a little bit of its length and its strength. So eventually it gets so small that it flushes through the system.
Okay. And then is that paper composted? I guess was their question, or?
Not that I know of. That happens at the paper mill end, not at our end. So
Okay.
that's a great question. I'll find out the answer.
Okay, thank you. And this was a question to Emily from online. Have you contacted Deerbergs? Have they been involved with the program?
I'm sorry, who is it?
Deerbergs, they're a large local grocery chain.
I don't deal with them directly, so it would depend on who their distribution center is. If you can email and find out, I can get that information for you. If they weren't on the list, it's probably a no, but it just depends on who their DC is.
Okay, that makes sense. And let's see.
I have a question for Emily.
Sure.
In your school programs, I've been contacted by schools in the past looking for some place to drop their bags. Do you have, I mean, because if they take their box that they collected, that's, they've collected more bags than can fit in the receptacle at the grocery store. So
Talk to customer service when you arrive. Customer service will call the guy up and he'll just take it back, just put it in the shopping cart. I mean, I bring like 30 pounds of plastic bags from an event, which is about 15 big bags of plastic bags. So just put them in shopping carts, roll it up there to customer service and say, here's some plastic bags for you.
and then they just-
Usually, we recommend 1 to 3 bags at a time can be set next to their receptacles. Usually, nobody will, bark at that. But if you do have, large donations, then you definitely want to communicate to somebody at the store, and they'll tell you where they want it or when they want it. Some of the smaller stores may not have a frequent truck that goes back and forth. Maybe it only comes once a week, and they don't want to have all that stuff sitting around. So we just recommend that, if you're going to have more than, the average drop, then maybe you contact the store and find out what works best for them.
And do we assume that all the stores on your list would be willing to take the bags, except for
Yep.
the smaller ones?
So we've been doing this program since 2006. It does vary a little bit, if stores come off or get added, but most places are pretty familiar with the fact that the plastic is going back to their distribution center to be recycled. They may not know Trex by name, but they generally know, that it's going back to their DC to be dealt with.
Hey, Emily, what about Target? I thought Target worked with you all at one point in Missouri, but no longer?
No longer. It's a constant pull to keep contracts, and I don't know what the current status is, but they are not on the list right now, nor is Walmart or Lowe's.
I think we need to get busy as consumers and start sending in comments to these retail places.
They still.
Well, does that mean they're not collecting and recycling, or it just means they're not
not
sending
at
it
all.
to
Not at all. That just
Yeah.
means that at the end of the day, they're not selling it to us.
So it goes back to bag manufacturers, it goes back to other people that use that type 2 and type 4 milk to create more bags.
Yeah. That's what Deerfield does.
Are these collection points sufficient? Like, is there an opportunity for other collection points or other mechanisms? I mean, you talked about the community project where the 500 pounds, but is this something where municipalities should be having, we have shred days and electronic recycling days. We have like bring your bag day and have a larger collection one-time deal. Is there an opportunity there?
Take a while.
You're asking me.
I'm kind of throwing that out.
I will tell you that Trex has a newer program called the Grassroots Movement, and it's where maybe municipality doesn't have quite the volume of at least 2 truckloads a year, 80,000 pounds. If a municipality feels like they could sell at least a half a truckload of bales to Trex in a year, then we definitely have opportunities that we can work with municipalities to set up accounts to be paid by the pound. The rule kind of behind that is all the plastic that comes here has to be baled, which can sometimes create a problem. But then it has to be stored as well until you have, the minimum amount that Trex will send a truck in to pick up.
I think to your question, it's more of a information than actual collection. It's more just supporting the program, or all programs really, than putting work into the actual collection one day. Because I just go to Schnucks, just drop it off. So it's more explanation of why that's important to do. I think is where like any of us really play much of a role, given the infrastructure. Right.
And I think the other reason that the One STL Materials and Recycling Group started promoting the idea of recycling bags at grocery stores was that there's such a big contaminant for leaving them in your bin with your mixed recyclables. They create problems with the MRF. And are a lot more questions coming in online. Someone asked about frozen food bags that are stretchy. Are those acceptable?
We have to say no to frozen food bags in general.
Okay, and someone thought that ice bags with a little bit of moisture would be okay, but is that also a no if they have a little bit of moisture?
I mean, by the time it gets here, it's probably dried out. So, I mean, we all know that recycling isn't perfect. There's going to be some contamination, but you know, the drier the better.
Can I ask just an answering if it's Trex or MRF friendly? Because there may be different answers depending on, you know, I'm assuming frozen food bags aren't okay for Republic either.
No, they're, you know, they're multi-polymer. Just like the dog food bags, a lot of what she had listed on her list are the candy wrappers. You know, they're usually multi-layers that we can't separate, you know, and no one else can either. So they're made for freshness. They're made for the right reasons to protect your food, but some of them unfortunately aren't recyclable.
So does that apply to all food bags?
Oh, well, that's a big word, all. Okay, about most.
How about the word crinkly? Because
Crinkly is
I
not
can,
good.
so crinkly is bad for both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that true? Okay.
Yes. All bags are bad in a high-speed sorting system. But, you know, there are great programs to take those back, and your list has gotten good. It's a great list there's a few things on there I didn't know I could return. I'm mad.
Can you speak to contamination levels currently of plastic bags in the recycling system?
Millions?
Is it up?
No.
Well, no, I'm not talking numbers necessarily, but like trends. Was it way up during the pandemic? I know there was kind of a major marketing push, right?
Right.
It maybe went down a little bit.
We saw a large decrease in the bags and incoming. It's almost impossible to weigh. It's more visual, right?
Okay.
Because they're so intertwined with everything. But when this group did the first push to get bags back to the stores, convinced a few stores to start taking them again locally, right? That we saw a large decrease in plastic bags incoming through education. Yeah, I think education had a lot to do with it. I think a lot of people they thought they were doing the right thing for me, and they weren't getting Trex the product they needed, right? So we saw the pandemic did not help.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of these places stopped collecting for a while during the pandemic, and unfortunately they didn't make it into the trash can. They made it back into our bins. We're starting to see that tide turn a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a downward trend.
Now that a lot of people are back sorting and collecting again.
But this is a visual, this is not measurable necessarily. This is like
Not for
by
us,
the eye.
right.
Kind of. Okay, got it.
Well, wasn't it also labor to how many times you had to shut down your facility to clean them up?
Oh, yeah.
You went from like 4 times a day to 2 times. a
Yeah,
day?
we're about 2.5 now. We take a smaller break over lunches, but yeah, we've definitely cut back on the amount of screen cleaning. Yeah, from them tying up our system. Good question.
And someone online asked, where do other recycler trash services in St. Louis take their recycling? I don't know, but Paula, do you want to expand on that question is regarding which services?
That'd be great, because like 80% goes to Brent's facility.
Right, other companies besides Republic.
Oh, yeah, we have the majority of the haulers, we get most, if not all. City of St. Peters has a recycling facility. There's a few other plants here in town that do it at a smaller level that other haulers go to. So, you know, there are other options, just not at the volume that we do it. So we do end up getting the majority of it. A lot of the cities that haul their own, we get their material. Brentwood, Kirkwood, U City, Belleville, and so on, so.
I'm asking for possibly a list of the other independent services and where they take their recycling. The reason I'm asking is we employ a smaller service to pick up our recycling here at, I'm at Thomas Dunn Learning Center, and we have a strong sustainability initiative here. And some people ask, where does the recycling go that we fill up these dumpsters? And I have asked before, but I don't remember who it was that where the recycling was taken, and I'd like to know. And I just wondered if there was a list of where the different organizations take their recycling.
Does the county?
I mean, yeah, I mean, the county is, if they're a hauler in the county, they have to turn in a recovered materials plan, which identifies the material recovery facilities that they take the recycling to. But your best bet would be just to call your hauler and ask them.
But Paula, in Dutchtown South, it's gonna be Republic Services, so all of the folks that Brent just listed will be the folks that you could answer.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Even the small services that pick up are going to take it to Republic.
Do you know who that is?
I thought you meant in like the alley dumpsters in your area.
No. So Eagle Waste picks ours up. They pick up our recycling. We pay to have our recycling picked up because we don't have an alley. So we have to pay separately for our recycling to be picked up.
I think they haul that material back to an 8-yard container that is ours, that they pay us to come by and dump like once a week. It's a recycle container. I'm 99% sure that's who we're doing that service with. So I will look into it, but I'm 99% sure I am getting that material. I
Okay,
recognize
great.
it. Yeah. They don't deliver.
Thank
to
you
my
very
plant.
much.
They take it to an 8-yard and then we come by and service it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We're getting a lot of questions in online. Someone asked, is Trex the only company doing this kind of recycling? Emily, would you like to answer that?
I don't know that I have a good answer for that. I know that we have competitors, but I don't know what kind of recycling that they do.
We had a little side conversation in the room that a company or the retailers that are collecting bags and don't send it to Trex send the bags directly back to bag manufacturers to get turned into new bags.
Is that an assumption or do we know that?
Hilex is a plastic bag manufacturer, and that's what Deerbergs
goes.
Okay.
to.
I think
And I think
Walmart
they're in
too.
Indiana.
Yeah, Walmart also.
And it's logistics. I mean, there are a lot of people that will buy plastic film for a lot of variety of reasons. You know, Trex has done a fabulous job of allowing the general public to get involved, right? I mean, we get plastic film from every manufacturer we deal with and we bell it and sell it. Maybe it'll start working for Little Rock, but logistically it didn't work well for where their plants were, right? So there are a lot of people that buy that type of film, but mainly what I deal with is industrial stretch film, stuff like that. And, you know, I don't know of anyone doing a program like Trex that as on your scale to collect film to be made into lumber.
Okay, some comments. We will be posting the recording for this YouTube link. It'll be 1stl.org is our website, and I can share the specific link in the chat. Let's see. We have a comment. Most residents' outlet for large hard plastic items such as home swing sets, slides, etc., is bulky pickup and therefore landfill. Is there any local user downstream that might be an alternative? I'm thinking of the St. Louis Recycles database. I don't know if anyone here has other thoughts, but I can share that link in the chat for hard to recycle items.
And the county.
Yeah, there's county, I can tell you right now, we don't have anything listed for that type of material.
Okay.
The plastic place on Vandeventer, not far from the Botanical Gardens. Is that the new name or the old?
Granite Peak.
That's the old name.
Granite Peak is the new name.
Granite Peak. Yeah, so the old name is Repali, but the new name is Granite Peak, and they're on Vandeventer, just off of 44. They take hard plastic, but
I thought it shut down.
they're
No, they're running.
Yeah, they're back open. as a new
But they
company.
take it from consumers?
They take it from
I
consumers.
didn't know that. Do they take the black pots that Botanical Garden used to?
No,
collect?
not the gardening pots, but like in the chat they mentioned.
Black pot.
Oh, I got a big pile of them.
I think it's Forest Keeling, right? Aren't they the only ones?
To reuse them.
I heard they did. Might be wrong.
Yeah, well, Jean
The database is the best place for all that.
coordinating that, she was quite vocal about her disappointment and not being able to get rid of those recently, but I don't, it might have been just a pandemic thing. So we might come
I
back
think it
out.
stopped before the pandemic.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, my pile's pretty big.
You start planting your own.
Well, yeah.
Start participating in plant sales. You're harvesting from your plants and you have. to put
That's a
it
good
back
point.
in
And then
the pot.
yeah, and then it's somebody else's problem. I like that. Oh, cool.
And Anna mentioned it earlier, but in the chat, she put the St. Louis City Recycles.com/resources database. It is on the city's website, but they maintain this database for the entire St. Louis region. So if it's not a plastic bag and it's not one of the items that goes in your single stream recycling, you can look it up on this database and find a location where you could drop it off. We do recommend calling them first because sometimes they've closed or sometimes they are closed and sometimes there's a fee. So it's good to have that knowledge before you go, but it is a great resource. And we appreciate that the city expanded that database to include the entire by-state St. Louis region.
Can you speak of your biggest contaminants? I know it's usually.
Seasonal, right? Plastic bags are still our biggest contaminant. There's no doubt about it. Not by weight, but just by what it does to our facility, by clogging it up and slowing it down. You know, we had a lot of Christmas lights with people taking their Christmas lights down the strands that didn't work and, you know, they wrap around our equipment. You know, we're getting ready to get yard waste coming in here in a couple months, right? Where that turns into my biggest contaminant. So, yeah, the garden hose is my worst enemy. That can shut us down in a hurry, but it is seasonal. I would say if you're talking year round, it's still the plastic bag.
Styrofoam.
Not as bad. I
Not
think,
as bad.
I think enough people are getting, I think that's been out there long enough that the number 6 is something we can't recover.
Can I get that same question answered by Drex? Sorry, biggest contaminant?
Receipts.
Environmental contamination is the biggest problem.
So if I were to take my ice skating rink polyethylene film and hosed it down and got rid of all the dirt and crumbs on it, is that okay?
You didn't have to
Then
blow.
you're gonna
I got blow dry it?
hang it, dry it, do all the things. I mean, ultimately, yes, it can be done.
Good.
If you're gonna provide the wash line, bring it on.
All right, okay.
I
And the
just
same
like
thing with a plastic hay bag, silage bag,
Good luck cleaning that out.
because it gets inside the fibers, right?
Mhm.
That's, yeah.
How about cleaning things for the MRF? How vital is that?
Empty, clean and dry as can be. How's that? You know, I think she put it perfectly. We all know it's not perfect, right? We want it as empty, clean and dry as possible, but I've always said if you finish it, then I probably want it. If you use all your salad dressing, if you eat all your yogurt, you know, I don't expect you to put it in the dishwasher, but if you finish it, then it's probably something we can handle. Get as empty as possible.
I've heard that wet cardboard shouldn't go in. What if it's dry, like you leave it out in the sun, it dries, then you can put it in, right? Because the process is to get it wet again, right?
Yeah, I mean, drive behind any Home Depot, all their bales are sitting outside, right? So that always cracks me up. It's like cardboard can't get wet. I store mine outside, you know, so we don't want to contaminate it. We don't want a lot of food, leftover food, grease, cheese, right? But if it gets a little wet, that's not gonna hurt us. It's just not.
We still have a lot of questions online, but are there any others from people in the room? that haven't been asked?
Well, I'll just say one thing that's working in Brentwood is, you know, I was telling Kyle about it, but, you know, we empowered our pickup people we gave them these note stickers and it's a checklist and they can reject the recycling. So if there's too much plastic bags, if there's a garden hose, you know, they put that sticker on, and if there are complaints, call your elected official and we'll defend why we're doing it. So, and I think that's worked pretty well when we visited Brent's facility.
It works very well. We have an auditor that looks at every load that comes in, and you're never on the naughty list, right? So the Brentwood trucks are very good.
Right. They're just looking.
They do a pretty good job. And if they see plastic, they'll actually sometimes take it out and like jam it back in the lid. So
Yeah.
you know, and then take the rest of it. So,
They get out of the truck and look at the cart.
Yeah.
Before they, our
Yeah,
guys don't, they just have that claw and look at
not
it.
that fancy yet, so
Yeah.
you know, they have no choice. They have to touch it anyway. So they're looking at it. And again, the empowerment was the big piece of it. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, avoid the claw.
I think that Teresa Bradley had her hand up earlier, but it's down now. But,
Yeah, I have put my question in the chat, Anna. And this is a really great conversation. Thanks for hosting this. This is more towards Trex lumber. Number 5, polypropylene. Are there any pilots or programs happening right now? Do you anticipate Trex? I don't know, maybe you don't have this answer, Emily, but to collect number 5 polypropylene or no?
As far as I know, no.
No, okay. Just curious, because that's, I don't know. I mean, I think you guys kind of alluded to this a little bit, but if are there any resources in the St. Louis region that accepts source separated number 5s? I haven't found any, but I know that there's some communities that are starting to collect them separately because they are high value, but
Yeah, they're the most high value. There's and that 3 through 7 -6 blend I was talking about. When we make that bale, I think 65 to 68% of it is actually polypropylene containers. They're the hardest container to distinguish by look, because they can be a cup, they can be there's so many shapes, a lid, a cap, you name it, that it almost has to be sorted with an optical sorter. And we have a lot of contracts that we continue to take 3 through 7. So we're not just mining out the 5 and throwing it all away. We're taking it all and using it from there. But we definitely want the 5 in the single stream. I don't know of anyone taking it specifically, just number 5 locally by itself. You can certainly put it in your single stream there. Post consumer. Yeah, all this
Except
stuff.
for manufacturers, like bring your bottle caps into the school.
Well, I mean, we get truckloads of bottle caps rejected at Procter & Gamble, right? That's all, you know, pre-consumer. That's a whole different ball of wax there. So, sprayers, caps, you name it. Does that help?
yeah, I just don't want to get into the conversation of 5s. They usually, if they're sold overseas, cherry pick the good stuff, like the number 5s, they could be burned for BTU value. That's my research, and I used to work for the city of Pittsburgh, and we were working with like the Gimme 5 program with Preserve, and they stopped taking number 5s. So I mean, right, highest and best use, source separation is better. I know that's like an inconvenience. It's good to hear it still goes in the single stream system. I just didn't know if you knew any more details, Brett, like the end light, like if there's anything, you know, I mean, if they're getting bailed, right, the 3 through 7s minus the 6s, you know, what's happening to those 5s? That was my question.
We ship the majority of them to a company called St. Joe Plastics in St. Joseph's, Missouri. They're a compounder, so they're gonna sort them to the nth degree and recover 3, 5, 7, and 4, pardon me. And you know, they actually grind it and flake it, pelletize it, whatever their end user wants it to be. Most of it goes back into consumer packaging, not food, but non-food packaging.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
thanks, Teresa. And someone asked in the chat, are tree products recyclable at their end of life? I'm going to ask for more information.
Tree?
Deborah, would you be able to elaborate on your question? What kind of tree products you're referring to?
She meant tracks.
Yeah, actually, it came up later down in the check. I had an autocorrect error. I was asking,
Sorry.
asking if track products are recyclable at end of life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Logistically, though, it's a bit of a problem. If deck boards come out and for any reason they've got something wrong with them, they don't pass QC, they get shredded and put right back into the process. You know, when you're done with your deck in 20, 30, whatever years and replace it or whatever, that material can go back into our process. It's just a matter of logistically figuring out how to make that happen. You know, if you're in Missouri and I'm in Virginia, we haven't come up with a way to make that work yet. So it's recyclable back through our process, but I'm not aware of anybody else that will take it as a, you know, recyclable commodity.
Thank you.
Are there places to take that?
There are also some, oh, I'm sorry,
Do they have places to take it?
Not right now.
you don't have places to take it right now, correct, Emily?
Aside from you driving it to Winchester, Virginia or Fernley, Nevada, no.
Okay.
I didn't know like how they.
And people online are pointing out TerraCycle is an option for recycling hard to recycle bags and films. Someone mentioned Federal International is another collection facility here in Maryland Heights. See if we have any other questions. Someone says, I love my recycled Trex deck. Let's see, okay. What is the percentage of recycling that ends up going to waste in general? And specifically, is this tracked by area or a municipality? Does anyone here have an answer for that question?
I mean, I can answer what my plant does, right? But I can only answer for our facility. Right now, our recovery rate's right at 80%, which means about 20% of what's coming in the door goes out the door, unfortunately. And it's not that our system isn't good at what it does, it's because we get a lot of what we don't ask for. And, you know, that further contaminates other material, right? So a good high-speed single stream recycling system, if everybody did everything right, would still probably produce about 5%. Just because things intertwine. But when you're running at 20%, it's because we get a lot of things that we didn't ask for. So we were as good as about when the plant opened. We were probably running at about 93%. That's when single stream was new. Everyone got a sticker, everyone was educated and did it right. And it's just kind of deteriorated. A lot of campaigns have pushed us back into the mid 80s. The pandemic pushes back down to about 80%. So.
Okay. And we have Margaret, here, would you like to comment on, is there any tracking done of recycling in the county or?
We collect tonnages, like from what the haulers send for recycling, what they send for trash.
Okay.
You know, we also have a program, we have a grant program for municipalities. And if anybody's interested in conducting an Oops Tag campaign or a Feet on the Street campaign to help clean up the recycling in their city, they can apply for a grant through our program and we can fund the costs for that.
And it works.
Yeah, they work.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll be sharing that in the notes after the lab, the information about that grant.
Question as well. Hi, I'm Kelly, currently interning at Birthday. So I know that there's a few malls in the area that only recycle cardboard, like Galleria in West County, which is concerning considering there's like around 100 stores just throwing away plastic every day. I was wondering if there's any plans to like connect with them and bring like recycling services towards those malls, or if anyone knows any.
The other, send me an email and I can give you my contact for Gallup.
Okay.
I mean, they have a lot of logistical issues in those big buildings and, you know, the way that recycling is collected. They also have a very small amount of good quality single stream, let's say. But stuff like plastic film, you know, plastic film, I would think would I'd be surprised if they weren't somehow collecting that, but cardboard.
A few of the larger stores have bought like their own balers and they bale it themselves.
It just
You
depends
know,
on
but-
what space they
But when you
have.
get into all the every little retailer, it
Right.
becomes very difficult.
Right, and they might have like one central collection spot, like in the basement somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, but then you gotta get the trucks into the parking areas and you gotta get them back out. You know, they can be difficult.
Worked at Galleria before, and it was basically just like a large kind of area at the basement where everyone would throw their trash, and then there was also like a site for collecting cardboard. And they only would collect cardboard from all different stores. And I heard West County was like that too.
Yeah, it's just clean cardboard coming out of those. There's no doubt about it. You know, they've tried single stream in the past and it just gets so contaminated from 80 different stores, and then somebody down to that room and putting the wrong thing in the wrong bin.
So many different businesses.
Yeah,
and
it's
there's
very
also
difficult.
Mixes in.
Yeah.
Good question. Any other questions from people in the room? Let's see. Where does recycled glass go if there's a surplus after it is used as an aggregate for roads?
We sell our glass, that's a light word. We send our glass to a company called ITR in Texas that will clean it, grind it, turn it back into like a white sand that then comes back up here to be made into bottles.
Can you say those letters again?
ITR. Or is it IRT, International Texas, is ITR, sorry.
It was in your presentation as well.
Yeah.
Someone else in the chat shared an article written by Gene Ponzi about the issues with recycling plastic plant pots. So that's probably something we should include in the notes after this lab too. Let's see. Does Republic know overall the percent of materials successfully recovered from recyclables collection, not ultimately sent to the landfill? I think we've
Yeah.
addressed that.
About 80%, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question about polystyrene. Since it's used in packaging and insulated boxes like Omaha steaks. I mean, I get a lot of questions from that coming in on the One STL website saying, where can I take my polystyrene? And there's like one place that takes it, but as far as I know, they just melt it and throw it away. We just gotta stick to our guns at that. That is not recyclable.
I mean, no, that's not true. We sell condensed polystyrene blocks that a few furniture stores and other people in town here make.
Mhm.
Once it is densified into a brick and it's controlled on contamination, it's actually a very sellable and valuable product.
Oh,
It's impossible to sort. It's the only plastic that absorbs whatever was in it. So if you eat a salad with an oily dressing, that oil is going to get in the pores, right? And it contaminates it. But you know, if you're a big furniture store and you're deboxing stuff every day and you're sending it through a machine that will densify it, it's a very, very recyclable, sellable product. And I think there are a couple of places that do take it from the public on the website. EPC, don't they? Yeah.
EPC
yeah.
did, then they stopped during the pandemic.
But they started again. I mean, I've
Yeah, so we take a lot of like our medical styrofoam there, like the stuff where you get medical supplies in styrofoam for cooling and stuff, because it's really high quality, so. But you gotta take it into account. You don't take everything.
right. And then there was another question, which is why we're having this session in the first place is about why our recycling varies so much from here than what we hear about in the news. So, you know, the quick answer, I mean, it's a complicated thing, but the quick answer is that the news talks about national trends and national things, but recycling is for us is a local economy, and it's with local goods and processes. So a lot of those national news just don't apply to us here because we're in the middle of the country and we can't ship our stuff overseas easily. So it was a function of the economy that we have developed our own networks for getting materials to local processes. So it's a function of, Brent being very successful throughout his family's lifetime and our situation, because when they collect these things on the coasts, they have so many people and, they end up having to ship a lot of stuff overseas, and that's where we got in trouble before, but we didn't ever have that problem here mostly.
I would say 10 years ago, there was an awful lot of material going overseas from the whole country just because of the hunger in China for raw good, right? That's gone. All right, the logistics have finally caught up with them kind of shutting down, taking a lot of that product. 100% of our plastic grades are domestic, right? In fact, as a company, we put our foot down saying we're not going to export plastics, right? Every once in a while, I may export some paper because our large paper mill maybe needed some paper down in their mill in Mexico. But 99% of what we recover, if not 99.5%, is sold domestically. That's this market. That's here in St. Louis, right? So that was well said.
And the other thing is about plastic. The recent news stories was about the title of the news was "Plastic is not recyclable," but that's based on a percentage. If like 30%, I think is the number of plastic isn't recycled, they consider it not recyclable. But it's just, semantics and some statistics that organizations stand by. So not all plastic is recyclable, but we're talking here, that's why we're having this, to talk about the ones that are recyclable. So we do want to encourage people to recycle what is recyclable and to do it right. But, recycling is the last in the triangle. It's reduce and reuse first. We need to be, as environmentalists, talking about reducing and reusing first and then recycling. So we do try to include that in our messaging and get people to take their reusable bags to Schnucks and the grocery stores. You can take it to Target and Home Depot, and I got more bags all the time from Home Depot, more than grocery shopping, because stuff breaks through the bags. And there's a pile. I started taking my grocery bags to Home Depot and saved a lot of plastic.
And we did have circular STL on our last lab in November. So they were talking about reuse. And there actually is a store at the Galleria where you can refill shampoo bottles. I'm just forgetting the name right now, but I think I'll be able to find that for you. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll try to look up the name. But I'm sorry, did you have a question?
So I personally avoid a lot of plastic bags using IKEA bags. They're super sturdy and giant. Are those made of recycled plastic, do you think?
I have no idea if they're made from recycled plastic or not. Yeah, that's a great question.
They're so durable.
I don't even know where they make them. They made in Switzerland. I don't know where the IKEA bag's made. That's interesting.
Are there any questions online you wanted to highlight, Aaron? I can keep choosing.
You can go ahead.
Okay, let's see. What was the name of the grant program mentioned on the county? Is it on the county's website?
It is on the county's website.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a grant for municipalities only. And it's a waste diversion grant, so it will fund projects focused on waste diversion.
Okay. I might try to share it in the chat.
Oh, good luck.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. It's, we're in the health department. It's
Okay, but it's a waste diversion grant.
waste diversion.
Okay, okay.
For municipal grants, yeah.
Okay,
You
thank
also
you.
mentioned the oops.
Oops tags, I'm sorry,
You said there was a grant for the oops.
right, you could apply for an oops tag program.
But that's another program.
No, it's the same thing. It's just that oops tag, it was created by Recycle Partnership. And it's a great campaign that's open for everybody to use.
There is a comment online that they had heard about Oh, wait a minute, this is a direct message. He's mentioned a radio show and that maybe getting on that program sometime might help educate the public about what's really going on. with
Yeah,
recycling.
you know, we have a marketing department that tries to get us on the radio and monthly, you know, and I end up maybe luckily, you know, Earth Day and a few other events, they may allow us on, but not very exciting news, right? So we don't draw a whole lot of, you know, we'll put out press releases and sometimes we get a little bit of feedback, sometimes we don't.
Right, so in the program that they're talking about, local program, you know, was very negative about recycling, but we all know that there's been recent local things going on with recycling. So it could just be situational.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the comments said not crazy about the St. Louis City changing their guidelines for what they accept in the plastic realm twice in the last year. I think that's just, again, confusion in messaging because nothing has changed. It's been the same plastics forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
so-
don't know what the city has done, as far as with their residents. I'm not aware that they've changed anything. They stopped for a while, right? And just had the drop off sites, but they're collecting again.
Yeah.
And it's rough.
They mentioned the lids. So again, that's about our messaging. I mean, because we've been saying, put your lids on. Don't take your lids off. You can keep the lids on your containers, whether they're glass or plastic. Those will come off in the sorting and processing, and then you don't got to worry about looking for a number. But again, that's been the case for many years. So it's about professionals and cities getting their messages confused, which is what we're trying to help.
They've never
rectify.
wanted number 6. Yes, they've never wanted number 6 PS in the city.
Mhm.
And that was another question. They thought if it were plastic 6, not styrofoam, it was acceptable, but it's no 6 at all.
Correct. We are not set up with our opticals to sort out any number 6.
Okay, and someone did share the county grant in the chat, so so this is that information, but that's available in the chat, and we'll share it after this lab.
And it knows IT.
It might be one of my,
It was someone from the county. I
yeah, it
think.
was one of my staff members, so that it was.
Yeah.
Her.
And then we have a question, lids on or off bottles. I think we addressed that. but I was-
On.
Okay,
Yes.
and glass jars,
On.
if it's a metal lid, still leave the lid on.
Absolutely.
Okay. See, and someone else said that the refill store I was referring to was Lush at the Galleria. So if anyone is looking for refill, they have a store there. And I know Dharma and Dwell is a refill store. They spoke at our last lab, and there's also the Refill Effect in St. Louis.
Social goods marketplace.
The social goods marketplace.
Can I ask Brent to explain why it's preferable to have a metal lid on a glass jar? Like, that's just kind of not intuitive. Is it an easy way to explain?
Yeah, I'm gonna explain it to you. You're not gonna like my answer.
No, I'm just curious.
No,
Like,
it's all right. Glass is not nearly as important, but it's the easiest message because people only hear one thing is leave your lids on your containers. Because a plastic bottle is going to retain its shape better if the lid is on it. And we sort by size and shape, right? So a flattened out smashed bottle is not gonna sort as easily as one that's still got a little bit of air in it and has some shape to it. So the easiest message to put out there is leave your lids on your bottles. Obviously, a glass bottle is either gonna break or it isn't, so it's not as important with the glass bottle. But it will still get recovered because when we shatter that bottle, we've got a magnet that's gonna pull that cap off. So we're still gonna recover that cap. So I think it's just easier to have one message, and that is leave your lids on.
thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome.
Since you brought up the shape, does it matter at all if the plastic bottle is like inflated or if I take all the air out and like smidge
We
it?
prefer it still with a shape.
Okay, got it.
Doesn't have to be fully round, but as long as it's able to bounce, it's hard to explain, but yeah, we prefer them with shape. That's why we like the lids on them, because they'll retain the shape.
Same thing with aluminum cans.
That's good to
Yeah.
know, because I think a lot of people smush them to save like space.
In the recycle bin, yeah.
We collapse our, like nut milk cartons.
Yeah.
Should we not do that? It's a safe space.
Yeah, and we prefer everything to retain as much of its shape as possible.
Okay.
Except cardboard boxes.
Yeah, you can break those down. They smash pretty good though, no matter what you do, because they get in our truck, they're gonna.
Brent, I have a question just for like messaging purposes. Like, like Brentwood, their stuff is coming back pretty clean. Where should we focus on, like, ideally? Ones that have like high, I know. City and
I don't want to
stuff,
call
is it
people
in-
out,
No, I
you
don't
know.
It's just, where
We,
can we put our messaging, some of our messaging?
we are doing that right now with a lot of our routes. We're using some of the state grant money that's available to get out and do some educational programs in some of our, less desirable routes. I would say most municipalities around St. Louis do a pretty good job. I would say the majority of the county districts do a good job. A couple of them are rougher than others. And we're going to concentrate some efforts there. City of St. Louis is really making a good effort, but they've got a lot of work to do. So is that good enough?
What you suggest they could do to improve? Because I know my city dumpster behind an apartment building, just like atrocious.
It's their system, it's their trucks, and I don't see it
There
changing.
weren't any markings on the dumpster to help people know what they should and
Yeah.
shouldn't be putting in, and maybe they needed to write recycling like this big.
They had stickers on them at one point. I think they're mostly gone. I know the effort from the city is stronger now than it's been in years. So I really feel we're gonna see some improvements. They've got a mountain to climb, so.
They have a roll cart pilot program, which would help a lot. And they're writing grants to try and expand that.
And those are coming in very clean.
Yay.
The 90-gallon wheel carts, there's a big difference between that 90-gallon wheel cart service and the alley dumpster.
We have a pretty specific question for Brent. Is your facility running at capacity? If so, are there plans to expand? We still have communities out here in Western St. Charles County that don't have single stream. And some cities can't take paper, cardboard, or plastic curbside.
And that's more based on who you have hauling it. We are, yes, I would say we're probably over 90% capacity with aging facilities. So yes, there are plans to expand, but with everything else like in the pandemic, getting equipment and getting what you need to do it is delayed. So it's not going to happen overnight, but there are plans in the work to expand to handle more material.
Awesome. And we have some more comments in the chat, but no other questions. Are there any other questions from people here on the table? No? Some recommendations for 1STL messaging, so we'll have to take note of those.
Yeah, we'll save the chat.
I do have a quick question about recycling plastics. If there's just a lot of different kinds of plastics and a lot of confusion, but it sounds like if you're looking at a plastic item and you're not sure, you want to like reuse as much as you can.
Right.
So try to avoid single-use plastic, but if it is 1 through 7, not 6, anything you would recommend putting in the bin?
No, there are some things that are mislabeled, but it needs to be a food or beverage type container or household
Okay.
product. My rule of thumb is if you use it in your house, I probably want it. If you use it in your garage, I probably don't. Right, so you
Okay.
get into some hazardous materials in your garage, like pesticides and oils that those should not be recycled. But if it's a detergent bottle, water, food, inside your house, then if it's a container that you use, then chances are we want it. If you're really in doubt, unfortunately, throw it out or go on the webpage and see what you can do with it.
I think the key word you said was container. Because a lot of people, it's the plastic six-pack things, zip ties, oh, it's plastic, I can recycle it.
Oh, yeah.
Container.
Container.
It's a container.
And there's a minutia of things that you can fall under it, but it's pretty basic. If you give me your food, beverage, or household container, you're doing the right thing.
What about plastic containers that have a recycle triangle on them and nothing in the middle? Is that just a deception?
Usually, yes.
Pretend that they're recycled.
We wanted to be a number, we just can't be.
So it's trash, because
Yeah.
it's probably not.
It's probably a dual polymer material. And there probably is someone, I think someone, who did they mention earlier? The people Tetra Pak that take the TerraCycle. So TerraCycle has some unique ways to recycle stuff like that, but it's a very limited and direct stream. So when they say it's recyclable, it might be. Is it recyclable on the general scheme of things? No, it's going to contaminate something else.
It's like what we tell people is that it's not so much can it be recycled, because a lot of things can in theory, but can it be processed? And I think the more people learn about how stuff is processed, like just sorted and baled and shipped and things like that, the better recycling.
There was an envelope that came out from a large distributor that was multi-layer that had the recycle emblem on it with no number, but in the fine print, it said that if you wanted to, you could mail it back to a certain address and then recycle it. Well, I mean, that's kind of hard to do. So, but they had a way to recover it, but it was very difficult, right? It was recyclable.
I'm gonna risk shaming myself. So if I have recyclable products, let's say the yogurt container,
Mhm.
and it passes through my dog before it goes into the recycle.
And it's cleaner than I've ever seen it. Yeah, you're.
But it may not, it may be in pieces now. Is that still okay?
No, anything smaller than about a golf ball is gonna be weeded out in our screening system on purpose, because that's what's getting a lot of dirt and grit and things. Now, if it's metal, it's still gonna hit a magnet and get recovered, but small pieces of plastic are lost. And that's why I say even a perfect running plan is gonna have some small loss. Good question. I thought you meant if he licked it clean.
Clean but ruined.
Okay, well, we've reached our time. I think this was a really great conversation. I'd like to thank our speakers. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Do we know what our lab topic is next month?
For next month, so we have the Midwest Climate Summit on February 21st through the 23rd. And then we'll be discussing how lessons learned from the summit can be used in the St. Louis region. That was the goal. And that lab will be the last Tuesday in February, the 28th.
Great. So hope to see you all at a future lab, and those of us in the room will be retiring to the lounge for some refreshments.
Very nice.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
And soccer.
Get the sentence up next time, yeah.